What's up, everybody? Welcome to Among the Fence. My name is Aaron. Today we're checking out the new album Death Above Life by the melodic death Swedish metal band Orbit Culture. Despite being around since 2013, I didn't discover this band until 2020 when they released their third studio album, Nija. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I really enjoyed the record, especially since it was my first time experiencing them. The vocals were incredible. The drum work was insane, to say the least. The clean vocals took a little bit of time to grow on me, but they did eventually grow on me. They're still not really my favorite, even when I go back and listen to the album today. One thing I did notice that was pretty prominent throughout the entire album was the stompy rhythm thing that they do. It's found on songs North Star of Nija, Open Eye, Mirror Stone, which to me sounds like a cover of Sad But True. And Sad But True is pretty much like the example of what I mean by that stompy kind of rhythm sound. It became even more of a thing on their follow-up album, Descents, with songs like Black Mountain, which is still a banger, by the way, Sorrower, From the Inside, Vultures of North, honestly, the entire record. But this time I felt like it also fell victim to the production at this point. I felt like the production wasn't really helping out too much. And it's not to say that it sounds bad. It just really makes all the songs start to kind of sound the same, which is an issue that the band was starting to develop at this point. And this is something that I was hoping would change when they announced the release of their fifth studio album, Death Above Life, especially when vocalist Nicholas Carlson said that this felt like a rebirth. And I remembered that as I went into this album. Actually, as I listened to the singles and going into the album, I reminded myself of it as I started listening to the album and I sat down to review it. And is it a rebirth? Not really, no. Especially like if you look at the first single that they released, The Tales of War, it is basically an all-out stomp pounding fest in the intro. The verses honestly are pretty sick. I enjoy the verses. The drums sound fantastic. The production though, like at first I enjoyed the production, but the more I listened to the singles as they came out and the more I listened to this album, the more the production was a little weird. Like the guitars sound clearer than they were before. Like the drums are here, the guitars are coming at you from here, and the vocals are the vocals are right here. This is where the vocals are. They're right in your freaking face the entire time. No matter what's going on, I feel like the vocals, everything's just so loud. And I feel like the vocals had to be pushed so hard for you to be able to hear anything that they're saying. And the chorus with the clean vocals and Tales of War, it just doesn't really work. And I feel like that's basically the story for this entire album when it comes to clean vocals. Very rarely do they really complement the song all that well, just because they're so James Hetfield-esque. Like even the enunciation in the words sounds like James Hetfield he's filling in on vocals on most of the clean parts of this song. The next single that they released was the title track, and besides the kind of scratchy sound that's going on, it's basically the same kind of rhythm. And really, it sounds the same as the Tales of War. The chorus doesn't change much either, so there isn't like a whole lot of variety within the song itself. Verse 2 is maybe the best part because the lead guitar kind of switches things up and stands out a little bit more. Again, thanks to the mix, but it doesn't really matter because everything else, like I said, is just so loud anyways. If anything, these were the only two singles that I heard. At first thought that this was kind of a bad sign for this album going into it even. Luckily, if you start at the opening track, Inferna, it does give you a little bit more hope. The riff is slightly better. The drums are really shining through by doing something just a little bit different, and I feel like the production just does so much to the drums to where it all just kind of sounds the same. I feel like that's what gives it that kind of pounding rhythm, is more the production than anything. And I feel like the drums are doing a little bit more to kind of pull away from that. The chorus sounds pretty good in its Metallica kind of way, but because of that, it does become dull rather quickly. The bridge is absolutely beautiful, and the last part of the song is great, but the 6 minute and 45 second runtime that is this song is just too long. It takes too long for it to get there, especially since it feels like the singles that you've already heard. It sounds like not even the singles that you've already heard for this album, but the singles you've heard for the past album and a lot of songs on the last album and the album before that as well. So by the time you get to the last like minute and a half of this song to where like the really good stuff is, it's just kind of tired you down. I feel like they could have cut off a good minute of this song and I feel like it would have moved it along rather quickly. But then we have the second song on the album, Bloodhound, which was another single that was released. And this one feels more like an overproduced version of Slipknot's People Equal Shit. And it's not a bad thing. It's a good sounding song. It just sounds like something that they released on one of their previous albums. The heavy breakdown to me really helps to push you through to the end to see it all the way through. But then once you do, you get to this song Inside the Waves, which I found to be pretty boring. It's very drum forward. It just doesn't really help the case for it sounding like any of the other songs at all. It doesn't really do anything though to stand out. And while I was casually listening to this album while in the car, playing video games, going for a walk, just doing stuff around the house, I just always tuned out this song. Like it doesn't do anything to catch my attention. And because of that, I tuned out. By the time I got to the next song and the song after that, I didn't even realize it. Like I didn't even understand what was happening. I completely quit listening to the album. I wasn't invested in it whatsoever. And it made it a real struggle. Like by the time I sat down to do the review on this album, this felt like a new song to me, something I never even heard. And it's one of the shortest songs on the album. And I realized that because it's so dreary, it feels like the longest thing. I mean, it feels like it takes an hour. And then there's the song Hydra. And I'm so glad I did not listen to this as a single when it came out, because if it did, I would have avoided this album entirely. This is the poster child of what I dislike so much about this band. The formulaic rhythm that they've been using for the past 9 years that wore out its welcome 7 years ago is like the main thing in this song. The clean vocals are once again just so Metallica. It's like a Hetfield copy. It's not even like an influence or like a nod to him. It's like just straight up ripping off James Hetfield's style of vocals, which I mean they could do, but it just sounds so bad here. And then since this is a song musically that you have already heard before on like, I don't know, their past 3 albums or something like that, and at least once throughout this album so far, it just feels like it goes on forever. It never ends. And then this song does something even worse. Hydra decides to cut out. The sound drops off. And when it did, I was like, oh, good, the song's over, you know. But then it starts to come back. And you're like, okay, cool, they're going to do something different. Nope. They're going to do the same damn thing that they've been doing for the past 4 minutes. They cut out to do absolutely nothing different when they come back in. And it is just completely void of creativity. And it is one of the main issues that I have with this band. And it's just, it feels like it's never going to go away. This is what I think of when I really think of why I dislike Orbit Culture. And I feel like it's why a lot of other people dislike them too. And now that my rant is over, I got to say, luckily, that's pretty much the only song on this album that I actively dislike. Just because it is so just stereotypical. As we go on to the song Nerve, it has its faults, but I actually found this one to be an enjoyable song. The melodies work really well. The riff and the verses are memorable. The chorus is just okay, but this time, instead of it being the vocals' fault, I feel like the lyrics and the hook just weren't really there. I felt like it was just missing just something. I feel like they could have added something into the lyrics. I don't really know what but it just, every time it came around, it just wasn't something that got stuck in your head. And I felt like the potential was definitely there. The overall flow of this song is really good as well. Each section keeps you guessing, which is something that Orbit Culture doesn't really do. You usually know exactly what's coming next. It's usually going to be the same thing they've been playing anyways. Then we have the song The Storm, which once again is great. It changes things up just enough to make it a little bit more interesting. The lead guitar part adds just enough, and the rhythm just changes things up. It doesn't take much. Just doing a little bit goes a long way, especially if you want to keep the same sort of sound going. It isn't that hard to do, and they show that with these 2 songs. Unfortunately, The Storm does kind of have issues of overusing blast beats to the point of where your eyes gloss over, and you kind of forget that you're actually listening to something, and you start to tune it out. Then we have Neural Collapse, which is sort of like Inside the Waves in terms of how boring it is and it doesn't really do anything. However, there are some moments that really stand out musically, but when it does, those moments get ruined by the clean vocals. Like when the drums go off, it sounds so good, and the fact that they don't do it for a very long time really helps out with this band. But it would have been better if when the drums do their thing, if it would have been more of like a solo, or there wasn't any vocals, or literally if they just did anything else. And then once again, the song is too long. Like it does the same thing for 4 minutes straight before changing it up. The interlude and the solo are actually really cool. It's pretty haunting. The only issue is it takes so freaking long to get there. They could have cut out like, I don't know, 2 minutes out of the first part of the song. That way you get there sooner. But then it doesn't really help, because once the interlude is over, they just go right back to doing what they were doing before. They don't change anything. So it's just, it's very, very dreary. That you have 4 minutes of the same thing, a little interlude, and then they have the opportunity to change it up and flex their creative muscles, and they don't. They don't at all. They like, we're just gonna play the same riff and have the same drums, and I don't know. To me, it's weird to not have that desire to change it up and do something really cool to make the song have more of an impact. Because when you just do that, it just feels like it doesn't flow. It doesn't really feel like it goes anywhere or like it does anything. And then that leaves us with the closing track, The Path I Walk. The lyrics, which are like the main part of this very slow song, are a little corny. Not gonna lie. I wouldn't say they're cringy. They're just not, they're just a little silly, I guess you could say. The vocal performance doesn't really do much to help it either, honestly. The Spanish guitar and the strings and the music sound fantastic, but then the buildup that I swear to God is like an hour long, just, it doesn't go anywhere. It's got this big drum buildup, and you're sitting there waiting, you stand up, get out of your chair, you get ready to mosh around for this big exit of this album that does have some really big sounds in it, and it's like falling off a cliff. It just doesn't happen. So straight up, I really did not care that much for this album. It's repetitive, formulaic, not even within itself, but within like past albums. Basically reuses riffs and drums that we've already heard and ideas that they've been reusing on past albums just over and over and over and over again. The clean vocals take away from pretty much any experience. If there's anything like cool going on and the clean vocals come in, it basically completely ruins the moment. Only the distorted vocals are what's really worth listening to this album for, like straight up. That's the only thing. But because of the mix, everything is so loud, the distorted vocals basically make your ears bleed. Because everything's like up to 10, and the distorted vocals, they pushed all the way up to 11. The clean vocals too, but the distorted vocals are what I really enjoyed the most. It's just they're so loud, and when you turn it down just enough to where it's just right, everything else is just kind of like a muffled wall of sound with the stompy rhythm added in that they've been doing forever. If you enjoyed Orbit Culture, like their past albums or whatever, you'll probably like this album because it's the same thing. But as for me, I gotta give Death Above Life by Orbit Culture a 3.5 out of 10. But I want to know what you guys think. I have a feeling a lot of people are not going to be too happy with this review because this is a very popular band that a lot of people love. And I'm sorry, it just didn't do it for me. Leave a comment below letting me know what you thought of Death Above Life. Let me know what you rate it and what your favorite song is. And if you think I'm stupid, let me know why. Let me know why you think this band is better than what I'm giving them credit for. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like. Helps out a lot with YouTube's algorithm. It will show my video to other people who have similar taste in you in terms of music and stuff that you watch, which helps out a lot. Also, I'm really close to 1,500 subscribers. I think I'm like 23, 25, something like that away from 1,500, which would be a really cool number to hit. It would help me out a lot, especially my ego, which is very fragile. So I just want to thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to listen to me sit here and talk about music. I hope you have a good rest of your day or night whenever you have me watching this, and I will talk to you guys next time.